Hi everyone, Sean with Shertzer Bookkeeping here, back with another bookkeeping video. So I wanted to go over reconciliation more. If you did see my last video, we did reconcile January, but I'm going to go back and pretend I didn't do that because I wanted to show some things off that could happen when you're reconciling. And another issue that I've seen personally, and I know a lot of other bookkeepers and accountants have as well. So let's go ahead and do this reconciliation. So remember, we need to first check our beginning balance. Beginning balance 1/1/23, 34/20/94, and that matches. Now let's do the statement ending date. Ending balance is 3,092.61. So let's type that in here. And our statement ending date is January 31st, 23. That is from the statement. That's what we want to put in. So now we're going to hit start reconciling. And as you can see, let me push this over a little bit more. Okay, a little bit more so we can see a lot here. Okay, here we go. This is looking pretty good. So, first thing we want to do is we see we have a $1,000 difference. We want to find out what that is. Okay, so let's check first our deposits. So what I like to do first, if we don't know what anything is, we're going to check everything off, and then we're going to uncheck everything. Okay, so first of all, let's look at our deposits. So we've got $1,400 deposit on 1/1 right here. We're going to look for, let's see, $300 transfer 1/8, okay? And another deposit of $1,400 on 1/15. Well, what's this received payment here? Let's come back to that. Okay, so, but looking at here, 3,100, 3 deposits, 14 plus 14 plus 3 is 31. So we're good there for right now. Okay, now let's go to the payments. So we're going to select all of these off, and I'm going to go through this quick to not take too much of your time, especially if you've seen my previous video. And just to review, what we want to do is check each one of these off and check it, make sure it's on the statement. So that's what I am doing, just very quickly this time. Okay, so we found our difference, that $1,000 difference we started with. We found it. It's our credit card payment right here. Now, where most business owners start to mess up here is they think, great, we have a $0 difference. We're done. But if you remember, let's go back to all. We have this $1,400 deposit here, or received payment, and a deposit. $1,400, same date, same everything. What's going on? We also have something here, $21.34 from Dolly's Donuts. We probably bought a dozen donuts for the office one day. So what we want to do is we want to research these as well, because ideally at the end of the month when we're reconciling, we don't want to have anything left over. So we want everything to be checked off. There are exceptions to that, though. First exception would be any uncleared checks. So say you wrote a check to somebody, you mailed it off, you sent it in, hasn't been cashed or deposited yet on their side. That is legitimately something you should leave. So you still have record of it, but since it hasn't been deposited or cashed, it hasn't been taken out of your bank account yet, that's legitimate. Let's say something at the end of the month. Let's say you purchased something on January 31st and it didn't clear the bank until February 1st. That's another legitimate thing you can leave here in the reconciliation screen. But outside of those two major exceptions, that pretty much everything else, I'm not going to say absolutely, but for the most part, 99% of the time, everything else should be checked off and should be on your statement. If it's not, you have to do some research. So even though we have a $0 difference, we're not done yet. Let's look at this $21.34 for Dolly's Donuts. So let's say I looked back and I went, oh shoot, I paid cash for that. Well, we don't need that in our books, right? We could, if it's a legitimate business expense, we could have it in our books. And we will do another video on that. I may have already done a video on how to do that. But let's say it was just, I wanted to buy some donuts on the way home from the office for the family, and I forgot and I used my business card. So if that's the case, we want to just get rid of it, especially if it's a personal expense on the business card. Mistakes happen, no big deal. Let's just delete it out of here. So we can either delete or we can void. Generally, I try to just void things since there is still a record just in case. So let's go ahead and void it. I did say delete it first, but let's void it just so we have the transaction still here. So it says the transaction will stay in your books, but the amount will go to zero. So that is fine. If we have a $0 transaction, I'm good with that. So now it went down to 0 here. So it said voided 0. If it's 0, go ahead and check it off. That way it doesn't still show up on the next month reconciliation. Now let's see. So now let's look at this. So let's say we go back to our records. We see Sound Studio did pay on the 1st. And we do have the deposit showing here in the bank account. And this came from the bank feed. That's what these two green boxes mean, is it came from the bank feed. And that we added it into the bank feed. But what's this? So this is, as the business owner, we said, hey, we received payment from Sound Studio. So let's go ahead and let me show you it. You can go right into the transaction from the reconciliation screen by hitting that edit button. So we can see that we did this receive payment. But here's the catch. We said we deposited right to our bank account, which is, yes, that's correct. But that is not the best workflow for this. The best workflow is if you got a payment from Sound Studio, the best workflow is to deposit it to a payments to deposit or undeposited funds account. Same thing, different name. In this demo company, I have payments to deposits. We're going to use that. That is basically a holding account or a clearing account. If you, let's say you have multiple payments from multiple customers, and you just hold the checks. Let's say they pay by check, and you hold the checks in a drawer in your desk until Friday. Then you go to the bank on Friday and deposit them all at once. That's generally what the payments to deposit or undeposited funds account is for. But even if you do it just for one payment or one deposit, it's still a good practice to use this workflow no matter what. So let's put it to payments to deposit, and we're going to save and close it. Now what? Well, that took it off of this, but we're not done yet. See, this deposit is still in here, but it's not. But now what we need to do is match these two together. So we said Sound Studio paid us $1,400, and now we deposited it into the bank. QuickBooks doesn't know those are two. The QuickBooks is thinking they're two different transactions right now. QuickBooks is thinking, hey, we have this. Okay, you have this check for $1,400 sitting at your desk, and then you also have a deposit for $1,400 that you deposited into the bank. Two separate things in QuickBooks' mind. So what we need to do is we need to tell QuickBooks, hey, this deposit from Sound Studio is that $1,400 check that is supposedly on my desk. It's actually the one I cashed or deposited into the bank. So what we can do here is we can edit this transaction. So we do have, so select the payments included in this deposit. We are on the bank deposit screen. So right now, we've told QuickBooks this is a separate thing because we're adding funds to this deposit, the $1,400, and then this is separate. So we need to tell QuickBooks, no, it's not separate. It's this $1,400 payment. So if you're using this screen, we can hit the trash can here, get out of here, and we're going to check it off here. We're going to match those two together. And then we'll hit save and close. But let's say it's not here. We just want to, here, we can delete this deposit. This came from the bank feed, so it's not going to actually delete it. So I'm just going to show you this. This is another way. So let's go over to the transaction, the bank feed real quick. If you have a transaction that came from the bank feed and you delete it, it puts it right back here in the bank feed. This is the best way to do this part when it comes up. So here's the Sound Studio income $1,400. So it's not seeing, because of the way we did this, it's not seeing that as a match. Because it would just say, here, what about this match? So we're going to force it to look for a match. So we're going to go here and click match. And see, so now we're telling QuickBooks, look from 1/1/22 to 1/31/23 for any matches. Anything that you have in your QuickBooks register account here, see if anything will match to this deposit transaction. And QuickBooks pulled this one up. It's saying, hey, is this the transaction you're wanting to match together? Yes, it is. This is the payment we did and put it into payments to deposit. So now we can just hit match. That tells QuickBooks, yes, this is right. This is what we want to match together. So now QuickBooks is saying, okay, so the check you have in your desk in payments to deposit is this deposit. So we're going to match those two together. Now it's all one transaction like it should be. So now let's go back to reconcile and show you that it's still showing as one transaction. Boom, we're done. Yep, payments to deposit. See, deposit and the account is payments to deposit. That is correct for 1400. That tells you that you did this correctly, and it came from the main feed. Okay. So now if you scroll down here, there is nothing else to do here. So now we're just going to hit finish now. Okay, so now another thing that I've seen, so now we've got that out of the way. So let's go to the savings account. So you can see I reconciled it for January already. But let's say, I'm just going to do this real quick. Let's say I deleted this transaction for whatever reason. And it was after I reconciled the account. So now that transaction is gone. So now let's, this is what I wanted to show you. If you make any changes to any of the transactions in a reconciled period, you're going to get a screen like this. Your beginning balance is off by negative 157. So now what do? You can't start reconciling because your beginning balance is off. If you look at your statement does not show 1808.26. It shows the other one at 1809.93, I believe it was. So now we can't reconcile, because if we put in the statement ending balance for the February 28th, that might be accurate, but it's still going to be that $1.57 off. So you can't begin to reconcile the new month until we've cleared this up. So now let's say, okay, QuickBooks says we can help you fix it. So we can help you fix it. This is going to tell you what happened. Let's say you didn't just do that and you know what it is. Okay, we deleted a deposit for $1.57. We reconciled it at $1.57. Now we have no amount in there. And why? Because we deleted it. What do? Well, what I would do first, if we don't know why or we don't know what had happened, we can go to the history by account. We can see that the change happened here. And we can view the report. So this is going to show you, hey, a deposit for $1.57 was deleted. So I would go back and find out what you did, what somebody did in the firm or in your organization. If it's a deleted transaction, you'll just have to recreate it. Now this is off just by $1.57, just for this demonstration, but I have seen it where the beginning balance is off by like $90,000. And there's a whole big list of unreconciled transactions, deleted transactions, amounts changed. And if that happens, what I would recommend is reaching out to a local bookkeeper or accountant and have them look into that more. But in this case, what I would just do is check your bank feeds, because if it's a bank feed transaction that got deleted, remember, all the bank feed transactions, if they're deleted, they get shoved right back to the bank feed. So here, 130.23 interest earned, $1.57. So all we have to do is just say we just need to categorize it again. But wait, there's more. The last thing to do is you're going to have to re-reconcile that one transaction or however many transactions there were that you had to put back in. To do that, you would just go back to the bank register and see this is a C now, it's not an R. All you have to do is click, hit R, save, yes, and yes. Once you do that, you can go back to reconcile and your books are good again. So now your beginning balance is correct, no more error message. If you have a lot of transactions and you can't quite figure it out, a local bookkeeper or accountant, if they do have QuickBooks Online, the accountant version, they have the option to undo a reconciliation. Even if you as the business owner did it, they can undo it. So they do have that option as long as you give them access to your QuickBooks Online file. So otherwise, you have to change where there was a C and an R. You just have to change those all to C's, and it's very manual. You have to do one by one. So recommend if you have something very messed up, reach out to your local bookkeeper or accountant and have them undo the reconciliation for you. If you have any other questions or are interested in getting bookkeeping services, please reach out to me. My phone number is on the screen, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Have a great day, everyone.